interns at some point during their career. So, I'm pretty sure we're not all going to be employees for the rest of our lives. Some of us will get an opportunity to be on the hiring side. So definitely want to ensure that we understand the landscape of the situation. So with that being said, I'm just gonna go around and ask you guys just to give a little feedback in terms of your experience as an intern, or if it is that you're hiring interns, what was that encounter like? I'm gonna just go in alphabetical order. So I'm gonna start with you, Andrew. Do you have any experience being an intern, or were you given the opportunity to hire an intern and just get a little bit of that experience to share with the team?
Not really, no. I guess the closest that I really come is being what? When I was in university, I did research, so I was a research assistant for a couple of years,
Okay.
and yeah, it was a great experience, and also it was paid, so it was like a regular stipend thing, and yeah, not
Okay.
really, not really sure what else to say about it, but that was my experience, and in general, looking at it, I'd say that yeah, if it is the case that what the intern is expected to do will benefit the business in some way, then they should be compensated in some form. Of course, since they don't really have the experience, they're not gonna get much, but still, something should be there, at least as a motivator for them to stay and whatnot. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much for that insight, Andrew. And Kevonia, experience you've had as an intern, or maybe you are one of those entrepreneurs who have a business, or in one of those managerial positions where you've been hiring interns. Could you let us share your experience? Kevonia? Okay.
Probably step away or something.
Possibly, possibly. All right. So let us move on to Oshane. Go ahead. Have any experience you'd like to share with us, Oshane?
First internship was actually for me at UA. And that was like a software dev project. And yeah, it was paid, it was fun, like, a lot of experience, and it was like an internship program that local company had to partner with you to take on like challenging projects as student developers, and it was more towards building an open source community or a open Caribbean community type of software project. Yeah, yeah, that's that's me. That's my experience.
Thank you very much for sharing. Okay. So so from what it sounds like generally speaking, do have internship opportunities available in Jamaica, and generally speaking, these are paid positions. Okay, no problem.
So,
Thank
what
you.
about
Yeah.
you?
Just a
What's
bit
your
of clarification
ex?
though. Oh, go ahead.
Andrew.
Go, go ahead,
Oh,
answer.
okay. Yeah, just to clarify, my experience wasn't really here regarding the research position that was in the US.
Yeah.
I have very little experience of early job opportunities out here. Oh, actually, yeah, there was this one thing back, what was it? No, 15 years? Oh my gosh, 15, about 17 years. I did this thing, but I still wouldn't really call that, in a way, I really wouldn't call that an internship. I guess it was, but also it was still a paid thing where, yeah, I got basically my first position thing at working remote doing development with C sharp and yeah, again that was more of a paid thing as well. So I think the main, in a way, I think the main the way I'm looking at it, the main discerning factor for whether I take something as a internship or not is how much experience is being brought in. Because even with that, even though that was my first thing, I'd still been in the space for quite a bit already. So even though I was learning a whole new language, yeah, I had stuff there, and it wasn't quite from scratch as I would think of a regular internship thing might be.
But
Okay.
so I guess just to go back to Oshin's question earlier in terms of whether or not I've my experience with internship, I would say that yes, I've been on both sides of internship actually, where I've been given the opportunity um, to welcome interns to the organization in which I work, as well as I've been an intern in several organizations, and for the paid experience, uh, where I was an intern, it was good. Um, have I ever been an intern where I wasn't paid? I'm going to say I'm going to say yes, yes. Except, for lack of a better word, unpaid interns are usually called volunteers. So,
Agreed.
the right. So yes, I've done volunteer activity, and it was just for the experience, yes, as well as if it was an opportunity where I was competing for a paid position, I don't think I would have gotten in those two instances that I can recall where I've done volunteer work. Right. So it it does lend itself to an unpaid intern does lend itself to opening doors for persons to experience a field experience, a career experience, working with individuals that are not necessarily readily available for them. So I met a writer who has wrote a book because she's a writer, yeah. I- but she's very phenomenal. Unfortunately, I don't remember her name because I'm not very good with names. But but if it were that I was to be employed to work with this writer, I don't think I would have been given that opportunity to work with her. Well, for one, if it was a paid position, of course, a lot of people would have applied for it, and of course, they would try to pick the best one. And I don't think I would qualify. For one, I'm generally not a writer. I'm more technical expertise. A lot of skills in management, a lot of skills in software development, in cybersecurity, etc. But not writing. And so, someone looking on my resume would say, "What am I going to do this?" this person is not going to be working here for long. I'm going to be training this intern because paid internship, they usually have more of a cost to the organization, and so the organization tries to make more out of a paid intern versus an unpaid intern where they're like, oh, this is a short relationship. We're just trying to share some knowledge, just trying to get something out of you, put something in you, but we're not putting too much because yeah, we're not paying you. But generally, for a paid intern, I find that they are going to expect a little more out of you, and they may put a little more in you as an intern, right? So yes, I've been on both sides, and I've also um, employed, recommended, I've encouraged interns to join an organization where they're not paid as well.
All right, so hi. I did step away, so I kind of missed the early part of the convo. But I hear kind of combining volunteerism and intern. I mean, I don't necessarily think those are the same thing. Results said that I volunteer for Google Summer Code, where I'm a mentor. At work, I don't necessarily have a leadership position, but there I'm a mentor, so I'm actually in a more leadership position. I'm actually reviewing the technical documents, making sure they're fine, where typically I'm the one that's writing those documents.
Mhm.
But that's kind of different because as much as I'm gaining experience, that is me choosing to volunteer my time versus say an internship position or something I apply for and then I'll probably get through. So I don't necessarily think they're the same per se.
Okay, but what really is the difference between an intern who shows up for work and doesn't get paid versus a volunteer who shows up for work and doesn't get paid? What is the difference really?
All right.
Um,
So yeah, I agree with Kevonia on that. But I was kind of thinking of it from a different bit of a different angle that should answer that question. So my thinking is that an internship is something where you're going in well fresh, and at the end of it, some people might more define it as probation, I guess. But at the end of it, usually expect to get something more full time, or you expect to continue. At least that's how I see it. You're going as intern, and the thing is you want a position, you just don't have the experience. So you start at a point where you have the agreement that, oh, I don't have this experience, so we'll bring you and train you up. And when you get to a decent point in a decent amount of time, then we evaluate and hopefully take you on or not. But there should be, from my perspective, there should be that intent to take on the person on a more regular basis after that period of internship, whether paid or not. While volunteer is, yeah, as Kevin has said, when you're volunteering, you go in and you really don't expect any payment or anything like that. And many times, volunteering is something that's just outside of your area completely. You're just doing it, I guess, some might say you're just doing it for fun. So yeah, that's where I would break them apart and differ them.
Okay. While I hear both of you, I still not really seeing the difference because there are times when we do volunteer and we hope that we are going to get a permanent job. So do we truly? Is there truly a difference between the volunteer and an intern? But before we continue,
um
let us of course do a quick Google search. Difference between.
um
Go ahead, Oshin.
can I Okay, so for me, it's all about optics. Meaning how someone phrase it, because in essence, uh, they're the same thing, but the context of which is different. So, for example, when someone say, "Oh, they're a volunteer," uh, there's the impression that they would get, anyone would get, even if they're applying to be a volunteer. This is free service, free labor. They're not expecting any form of future payment, stipend, or job opportunity. It's just, you're giving your time, service, or whatever. But with an intern now, the optics or perspective is that even if it's for free internship or unpaid internship, the overall aim is that you're gaining that experience from the company to eventually get a stipend or a job at the company. So even though the functionality and everything would be the same, the overall objective or the outcome is separate. So I agree with you in the functionality and given the time and service, but the outcome of volunteerism versus internships are two different perspectives. So that's it for me.
I hear you in terms of saying that there is a difference from optics, but it does sound. Go ahead, Kevonia.
Oh, no, I was not. I was googling it and I see that there's a whole Reddit thread about volunteerism with internship.
All right, but yeah, in terms of optics, it does appear that there's a difference, but it for unpaid internship position in terms of optics and a volunteer position, it does look a little different, but underneath the surface, it's pretty much the same. But from Google's point of view, they said so volunteers really do want to help an organization, so they volunteer to help, or out of passion, out of want care for this goal or this dream, while an intern on the other hand um, tend to undertake an internship for furthering their professional development. But the reality is, when you volunteer, you can actually further your professional environment, because now I know this. For example, now I know this author that is now in my network. If I try really hard, I definitely can reach out to her and say, hey, I had worked with you or whatever, and she's gonna be like, yeah, man, we did that thing together, and so there's some amount of professional development that can still occur in a volunteer situation. But in terms of optics, I will say yes. There's a difference in terms of if let's say QC says we are looking for volunteers to do our project versus we're looking for unpaid interns. It does have optics kind of look a little different when you say, oh, we're looking for volunteers. So yes, I will say there's a difference there. Um, but let us of course look at some of the positives for having unpaid interns within an organization. Just a second. Okay, so while of course we know funding is the bread and butter for every organization. If it is that an organization cannot you know provide a means, to pay the bills, to service their loans, to pay their rent, etc., they're gonna close down that organization. But of course, they still have jobs, they still have tasks to be done, and so hired unpaid interns does give them an opportunity to flex their muscle, give them a little breathing room to carry out some amount of functions that they want to be able to carry out without having to worry about the expense of paying an intern. I do recall I've been around a while. I've been working with many organizations. And I actually do recall being in a board meeting already where the CEO of the company, it's not any organization that I'm currently working with, so let me just make that clear. But I've been in a board meetings before with the CEO, and where the CEO says, "Listen, we're in a crunch right now, and we're gonna either have to cut staff or we're going to cut the person's pay, but they still had the same amount of work." And I'm pretty sure during that period he did actually hire some persons to more or less volunteer to carry out some functions. It was a very tight knit organization. So we didn't have any child labor laws and so on. But his son was actually in high school, and his son came and worked in the tuck shop, and as well. And because they were like, "Yo, the loans need to be paid, the you know the lights need to be kept on, and we only have so much money based on our revenue coming in, but we still needed to carry all different functions to actually keep the business afloat." So this is a real thing where finances can definitely play a role. And if it is that company, let's say, shuts down, there's going to be more people going to be unemployed versus if it is that they were able to take on a couple unpaid interns to fill out a couple roles, keep the lights on, and keep more people employed.
So
So
like
there are some
slavery,
benefits
so
to
like slave
unpaid.
labor.
Go ahead, go ahead. Let me hear you.
That's so like slave labor ship is like, oh, we can't pay you, but we need you to come and do some work. We also can't guarantee you a job afterwards, but we need you to come and do some work. Like what benefit as the intern, what benefit does that have for me? I'm not saying I need an entire month's salary, but at least a stipend so that I can actually speak. Because I have to come in office. At least a stipend so I can at least pay my fare.
Hmm. Understood.
Because as the intern, that is now money out of my pocket to come in office, buy lunch, just for the experience alone. No.
Yeah.
Thinking,
I
and that's how I'm kind of separated from volunteerism, because volunteerism is I choose, oh, cool. I see this thing, I want to learn about this. I willingly volunteer my time. Versus an internship where you're going to put up, say, oh, I have an internship program. So you're putting up, oh, at this company, and say, oh, yo, I need help, but I can't get no money. Versus the volunteerism, I see opportunity, I'm like, yo, I would love to help you on this.
but
Well,
in an internship that is unpaid, in an internship program that is unpaid, the person still volunteers because once I apply to a position and let's say they interview me to be an intern, I, they're going to say if it's an unpaid thing, they're going to say we're not going to pay you, but do you still want to work with us? So there's still going to be some amount
No,
of the
in this life,
person.
come up persons will say yes to anything doesn't mean that it's right.
I
wait,
get you.
so here my counter to that though. I'm kind of going from the other side now. So looking at it from that perspective, you can think of it as more. All right, look at school. School doesn't pay you. You pay the school actually. You pay money to the school to get the education and all of that, and in the end, the school still doesn't actually prepare you for the workplace. So you can look at it from that perspective. So in the case of the internship, the only thing you still buy a lunch and pay a fare or gas or whatever to get there, but you're not actually paying a fee to learn. So can't take it from that angle. You're not paying a fee to learn, and you're learning something that's useful for your career. But that's the aim of from that area
Yeah,
there.
that's how the company will look at it. But at the end of the day, it's not like I'm just coming in and doing nothing. I'm actually coming in, using the example that I gave. The company was literally in a crunch, and then what they did was just get some interns, take them out of the crunch, and don't pay them. And they say, "Oh, experience." Nah, that's slave labor. To me, there's no difference between that and the Chinese sweatshop they we have over China.
Well, those you get forced to work.
That's something
That
kind of
this is
yeah, that's
optional.
kind of that's kind of
But keep in mind, the intern can leave at any point, whether it is paid or
Yeah.
unpaid. A volunteer can leave at any point. So while I realize that it can look away, to say, boy, they really not have no money to pay the person. But the reality is, it's not. I wouldn't call it slavery. I understand in terms of it does appear challenging. It doesn't necessarily look fair all the time. But one of the things that the organization that I experienced that with was saying was that we are in this crunch, but when we get out of this crunch, we do plan to honor those who was here with us, helping us to keep the lights on, helping us to ensure that we keep the service. Because the reality is, let's use a supermarket, let's use a fast food chain, let's use KFC for example. KFC will say, okay, we already put, not that I know of any KFC that this has happened to, but I'm showing you that it is possible. KFC may say, we've already put certain persons on contract. We've legally signed that they are on our contract and they have to be paid X amount of times. We can come to them, we're in a crunch, we don't have any money, we can come to them and say, sign this new contract to get a less pay, and but we still need somebody to fry the chicken. We still need somebody to do the cashier. We still need somebody to clean the bathrooms. So we still have these many roles, but we don't have enough money to keep the organization afloat. And so if the organ if the work isn't done, what's going to happen is that the KFC will shut down, because what happens in some situations is that organizations may buy goods on credit, handle the goods, because so let's say they handle the chicken, fry it and whatever. But what happen if all the chicken they burn up, and so that's a whole heap of chicken they burn up and they can't sell that to the customers. So
oh, yeah,
how do they pay? You know, keep the lights on. How do they pay back now for more chicken to now serve more customers? Not to say that that has happened, but the reality is companies can go in a crunch, and sometimes it's through the help of some unpaid volunteers is what keeps them afloat. It's what say, hey, really, this is not where we want to be, but we're planning to get out of it, of course. But for the time being, we're gonna need some people to be interns that we're not gonna pay.
Well, here's the rubber on that door. I was actually in that situation a while back.
Oh,
Company joined up with a company and started working, and things okay for the first couple of months, and then yeah, the company start have issues, and so CEO rang me up and said, "Well, can you XY reduce to blah? Maybe we do some shares agreement thing." And I was kinda on with it, but then I was also looking at it and I was saying, well, the way how you was pitching it and so on, it was like, but there doesn't seem to be much hope in any case. And that actually turned out to be the thing. I stayed on for a few more months just doing stuff, and it just died. No, I wouldn't really say that time wasted, but it's hard. So in the end, I didn't get anything at all.
That kind of
So
sounds different
yeah.
from internship. That more sound like workers exploitation.
Well, yeah, that was an
What they need to
actual
look for is
job thing, or it's supposed to be
yeah.
a job thing. But it's the same thing where we're saying that if a company can ask someone to say, all right, we don't have the resources to compensate you at this time, can you stay on? Then there is that factor to consider that, well, the resources may never come.
No, but that's a regular thing in Jamaica though. 'Cause like my first job in IT, I was hired as a web developer, and I was pretty much an IT team because I was the data admin. I was the support kit. I was the web developer. I was the mobile developer. Then eventually got other developers. Then I eventually left that company. I don't even know if it's still operational at this point. But that's typical where them try get as much out of someone for as little money as possible. Company that go through crisis, the first thing they try to do is like, oh, can they cut people pay, but they're not cutting your work. They're probably going to give you more work, but then I say, oh, all right, cut your pay, but when things recover, um, give up an increase, and the increase that they give is probably back to your old salary and not for the period where they actually cut.
Hmm.
Okay.
Cool, cool.
But it sounds though that you're okay with volunteering, but you're not okay with unpaid internship. Even though you have that choice, you can always leave. Even though they're not going to force you, even or whatever. But
There's a reason why to me, an intern specifically is either someone that is in like final year of college or fresh out of college or high school, depends on the type of job. But it's someone that is new to the field per se. Volunteerism, I started to volunteer after I already have 5 years work experience in the field. So this is me say, oh, I'm already in the field, I've gained some experience. This is me just giving back based off of what I have learned over the years of being in the field. While internship now is that, oh yeah, you just a start out, all right, now the try so we can get some free work out time. The optics are really
So interestingly, the yeah, it goes back to optics, but factually, when come on to internship, that's actually not true in terms of what you said. So internship doesn't really have any like true age or experience. Even someone who's experienced can be an intern. So, for example, if I was supposed to apply to, I could consider I'm very experienced over a decade. But if I apply to like Google, Microsoft, and so forth, I may end up being an intern at those companies. I have the experience yet based, but because of the type of company it is, I may end up being an intern. There are people in high school as well that can be interns. There are people, like I said, for example, well experienced or even in their 30s, 40s, apply to different companies and they have to do like a internship. But nowadays, the way that it's phrased is probationary period. It all goes back to optics.
but keep in mind though, probationary periods, I've actually never been on any probationary period unless it's paid. So 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 it's a very interesting and dynamic way that companies can maneuver or utilize the systems to maybe get free labor, but sometimes it's really an an opportunity to get persons within an organization to see what they're like, because it's gonna be um, challenging when an organization writes a contract for saying we're gonna keep you for X amount of period, more or less binds them into the contract unless they can say, yeah, man, we're going to fire you, kind of thing. And really and truly, you're not that experienced. Nothing is going on for you. And then they were really looking for a volunteer that's going to feel they're doing something for the company. So they may say, come in as an intern for free. Let us see what you're made of. Let us see
But
if it is that you truly value.
that's what a
Go ahead.
probational period is for. That's exactly what a probational period is for. That's why for some jobs have a 3 month probation. I've heard some jobs have up to 6 months to a year worth of probation. Where typically in contracts in Jamaica, the typical yes, it is stated in, well, most of the probations that I've been on, it is stated in the contract. During the probation period, we can choose to let you go. If you survive probation, that's when we need to give you prior warning. So you're on probation, like you can just come in tomorrow and then say, yo, not work.
Mm, okay.
All right. So I actually see some difference there between probation and internship because when I think of probation, I'm thinking of something like you apply and you go through the whole process and everything to get that position
Right.
potentially. Yes, you already go through the whole process and everything, and you have that thing that's pending, and it's just a matter of proving that hey, I can do this. That to me, that's what a probation thing is. It's the time given to say, yes, I can definitely do this thing here. While an internship is that time where the expectation is that, well, I don't really know much about this thing, so I'm going to be doing a lot of learning. That those are two very different things for me.
Because generally speaking, interns can get in very easily
Yeah.
versus, right.
Yeah, you usually have some uh, agreements with schools and so on to say, okay, bring on a certain amount to give them that leg up in the industry. Whereas, yeah, you're not gonna get that if you're going from a regular angle and end up on probation. So probation is just that time when you apply and you go through interviews and the whole shebang as a regular thing, but it's just that extra stretch to say that no is the time you prove that all of that stuff you said in your application and interview, you can live up to it.
All right. So let me just run through a couple more pros to being in a unpaid internship. There would be more focus on the skills, the network, the experience, aligning with your goals, all of those nice stuff, than focusing on salary, than focusing on, you know, what it is that you want to financially gain out of the situation. Because for interns that are unpaid, generally speaking, it can take the form of like a mentorship kind of program, right? Where you would be the person is going to be shadowing, the person is going to be networking, the person is going to be gaining some amount of experience that they don't necessarily have for unpaid internship. So there are some benefits. So we instead of trying to figure out how much work this person is valued at and how much we're going to need to take out of our budget to pay you. What we know is all we're focusing on is the skills and the networking, the knowledge that is being shared, the experience. So there are some benefits. Outside of this the focusing on the skills and shifting away from the finances, there is some amount of reputation, being garnered by the employer, to say, hey, we've been doing good for the community. We've been taking on interns. We've been, having them learn more about the industry, having them perhaps we are this huge organization that with a very good name, and so we are lending out our name to John Brown to say John Brown had interned at our place, to show, to give John Brown a little leg up when he now applies for another position elsewhere, or maybe even apply back at our organization. So we can say, yeah, man, I remember John Brown came in. I mean, it was unpaid, but you know, and it was we didn't try to rinse him out. We're hoping, to get out of everything out of him, but it was more of an opportunity to give that employer and the employee, some benefits of using this employer's reputation. Because as O'Shane would have said earlier, he has experience already, so but let's say if there's a internship opportunity available at Google, he may volunteer there. There's an internship opportunity available at Microsoft, or even at with Elon Musk on SpaceX. But I would have volunteered there because listen, if Elon Musk say, yo, so I have an extra seat kind of thing, wonder whom can give. You might remember saying have an intern that never did pay and say, sir, it's a good you that make me boss him,
Alright, just to add some clarity, why I said it the way that I said it. The thing about the company's experience and general life is this. And I think we're kind of full strain now, is a bit strained away from whether to be paid or unpaid. But so the reason why I said it the way that I did was this. You can be very experienced in something like general. I'm very experienced in software development. However, if I, like you said, SpaceX, if I apply to there, I have no knowledge of how to build software for rockets or navigation system and so forth. So, but yes, I do have a lot of fundamental experience and critical thinking. But in essence, it would be me learning the coding culture of that industry as well as that company. So in essence, and a lot of times you hear that companies would hire someone and they say, oh, your resume, you have a lot on your resume. It shows that you can do a lot, but it seems as if when they get into that particular company, their skill set doesn't really shine because they are learning. Well, there's a learning curve about what that company do, how they code, and the functionality that they're trying to bring to fruition. And it goes back to something that um Andrew pointed out in terms of probational period, trying to prove yourself during that period. So why is just generally you still garnering that experience when you go to a new company to learn their culture and development cycle. So that's why I put it like that and said it's all optics.
Alfred, I notice you've been silent on the matter. Do you think in free internship is a good idea? Is there any benefits? Well, have you ever experienced that, Crawford? Love to hear from you, your perspective.
Who did you call it?
Seems like Crawford has stepped away. All right. Jason, go ahead, please.
What's the exact question I'm being asked?
All right. So, how do you feel about free internship? Should internship be free or paid? Have you experienced any free internship?
When it comes to free internships, I think free work overall, um, let's say from one perspective, can be beneficial. Also, I'm gonna tell you a story I heard from this brilliant individual. I think he was on this Roadmap to Success video a while back. I think his name is Oswald, right? So, according to Oz, right, he wanted to work on like Google Transit for JUTC, and but he knew that being in university at the time and you know just dealing with government overall, it's unlikely that they wanted to pay him for his services. So he said, you know what, I'm gonna go up there, I'm gonna take a bus, I'm gonna go up there, and I'm gonna pitch this idea to them, and I tell them that I'm gonna do it for free. So he did it for free of charge. He was able to convince the JTC at the time, and he implemented Google Transit for them. And here's the catcher about that though. Even though he did his free work, guess what? Somebody needs to be paid to maintain that software. And guess who they asked to maintain that software? Yes, him same one. So free work or free internships can be strategically used to position yourself because up to this day, I believe he's still maintaining Google Transit for the JUTC. Furthermore, that one line on his resume opened up all manner of doors for him, right? Once he went into an interview and he told them, hey, I did Google Transit for JUTC. You know how Jamaican people are, especially back then, that was probably some 8 or so years ago when he was first saying to them he worked on this thing. They hear Google and they hear JUTC and they're like, oh, this young man must be brilliant. So once he says, he did Google Transit for JUTC, everything else was just a formality. You get the work, so many doors opened up, and now he's doing really well in life. So I'd say use whatever free internship or free work to your advantage.
Okay, back to what I was talking
Excellent.
about. For
Well
like
said.
volunteerism again. He volunteered to do something because he know the advantage, right? Because he never like physically and go in office at JUTC and meet him to say, oh, I see this idea of a solution, I will implement it for free.
Yeah, so here's the
Yeah,
thing. Here,
go ahead.
I think you're taking what I said a little too literally. That example there was to show you how you can use, let's say, the unpaid internship to your advantage. Um, let's just say I went and worked for Digital, right? I went and worked for Digital. They didn't pay me for whatever reason, but now I have on my resume that I worked at Digital. I did the same thing for NCB and Grace Kennedy, and now I have all these big names on my resume. So, when an employer goes to your resume, they say, "Oh, this young man, he was at Digital, that big company down the road, and then he was at Flow and he was at NCB. You're all at these big companies, and that makes your resume look a lot more, you look more desirable as a candidate because hey, at least this person spent some time in these big organizations. He was exposed to all sorts of technology.
I kind of think what Kevin was more getting at is there's kind of a different context there. So for in others' case, it's like the app that he made for with Google Transit and for JUTC that he just did at his own time from home. So it's like no pressure or anything like that. It basically just do it for fun. You can't say in a way. You just did it and then decide, oh, so I can now use this and market myself. So you can look at
Uh,
it from that angle in that case. But when we think about an actual internship, this is something that's way more structured and usually involves some kind of office time where yeah, you either have to take bus or drive or whatever and go in regularly and all of that. And I think that's what makes those two distinct.
Alright, so I agree with you, but at the same time, there is a strong similarity between the two. Because there
Yeah,
are
yeah.
volunteerism, or volunteer work that you have to go to a office, especially if you volunteer at a school, whether to do teaching and so forth, you have to go in office. If you put internship, for example, in the dev world, there are a lot of nowadays interns are working at home, and it's hard for companies to track like remote work, unless they give a company laptop and they do some form of monitoring software to track how much time spent. But in essence, there are similarity where there are a lot of volunteer jobs that people can go into our office and so forth. But yes, there is a difference in the sense that expectations slash optics, which one has a more requirements for someone to do this versus that.
And I think
But
that relates to the
going
big discussion we're really having is if volunteerism and internship are the same thing or not.
yes, yeah. So going back to like the whole topic of free versus paid versus unpaid in internship or just general work. Nathan just joined, so of course I kind of want to give him the chance to like participate. Yeah. So Nathan, the discussion, as I said, paid or unpaid internships. What are your thoughts on it and experience?
Well, being someone who just joined a company as an intern, I would say that it's a pretty good experience, to be honest. So,
I'm not hearing him. Is anybody having trouble hearing him?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
kind of
not
crazy.
really hearing much.
yeah, so as I was saying, it's a pretty good experience and everything.
Oh,
Intern, well, where I'm at right now, I'm actually learning a lot and everything. So yeah, internships are good and it is a pretty good experience.
Yeah, but
I
where now are you a paid intern or unpaid intern?
A paid intern.
See, that's my whole thing, this whole idea that internship, no offense, but like when I say internship you paid, I'm not expecting say oh you go get an intern and you're giving the same salary as they give you like a junior developer. But even like I said, just a little stipend so them can make it home or them can pay it fair. Because internship is good, volunteerism good. Because as I started earlier, I volunteer almost every summer. I volunteer as a mentor, where I am gaining experience because I'm gaining leadership experience, which I'm not currently in a leadership position. But between Google Summer of Code and I'm also a member of the Q1 Club, I do a lot of volunteerism, so I'm gaining leadership experience. So those seems separate when I try group up volunteerism and internship. It just feels like when it comes to unpaid internship, it just feel like companies that use the idea of internship to take advantage of
All
the
right.
person when they need a job.
Hold on. Back when I was attending the NCU, I joined the computer lab and the NCU had this software development section called Orion, and I actually wanted to work there as a student, but they said I can't, but I can become like a somewhat of well, not an intern, but they said that I can volunteer on some of the projects.
That's my point. You see them separate the definitions.
so
But
so
one minute. But because I volunteered, it got me some recognition. And it's like when someone from the department needed an actual developer, they actually reached out to me, and that's how I actually got my first programming job. So even if you're volunteering, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, No, like, Lance, I'm not opposed to say quote unquote free work. Is the idea of this like because if I am being an intern for a company, I'm not expecting to never get an entire salary, but just a little stipend for my recognition because I will be doing work for the company, which will either like in the example I was giving earlier, help the company out of a sticky situation, or even just help the company do something I like I'm just there doing anything. I know I'm gaining experience, but at least a small recognition is a, oh yes.
or some pocket change at least.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Would
I
you
think the over.
believe so
Go ahead, Alden.
all right, so would you believe that there was a time when, you know, for you to play cricket, cricket was considered what is called a gentleman's game. So it's expected that you have your regular job, and outside of that, it's an honor to represent your country. So you don't get paid. There's no benefit at all. All you do is just go and win the cricket competition for fun to represent
No,
your
that's
country
dead.
for fun.
Nationalism is dead.
And but interestingly, it wasn't. I wouldn't call it a volunteer activity when it was in that form at that time. I would more call it almost like an internship because they're expected to perform better. They're expected to perform as best as possible and win the competition, etc. Interestingly, they've brought in now payment into cricket, and now our standards have actually fallen, and so persons are going to cricket just to get paid and are actually doing terrible. I don't know if you guys can actually do some research on cricket being a gentleman's game and what it actually meant, because the reality is there was a period in our history where when being on the cricket team meant you're not getting not even a penny, because as far as they're concerned, you must be an educated man, you must be responsible, you must have your regular job, and we just play cricket for fun and you know compete against other countries because
Because
it's
it's
a
in our history
gentleman's game.
that it was right. There's a lot of stuff in our history that is very questionable.
I agree,
Well,
I agree,
also
but
that's
interestingly,
actually understandable the way I see it. That's pretty that is
no, but
sports.
they have to
Sports
train,
only
but they
became
still have to train.
a no. The sports is just a
They still
different
have to give
thing.
up their time.
Yeah, but it's that thing where you're saying, well, I'm just this is well modern times now. Modern as in I guess you call say what, 21st century. Now sports is commercialized, but then it was more just exercise and socializing. That's the way I see sports back then. Exercising
No,
and socializing. It's
And
just
but look at the
very, very
quality.
recently that we're saying that, hey, I'm gonna run for you and you have to pay me or whatever.
No, but look at the quality. Look at the quality of our cricket performance, for example. There was a
okay,
time
so
when
that is
Jamaica was the top team to beat.
okay. So I'm not. The reason why I'm not gonna challenge you on that because I hate when people say that. The thing is, people is looking like, oh no, yeah, Jamaica is getting worse. It could have simply well be we did not invest in our athletes. Other countries have invested in their athletes, and their athletes have gotten better. Jamaica needs to stop and ride our luck to say, oh, yo, we produce good athletes. Because what investment we're putting in athletes, like I'm a football fan. And if you see how Jamaica Football Federation deal with athletes, them like there's literally no development for athletes. When somebody leaves schoolboy football, what's the next step? Because Jamaica Premier League is garbage. That cannot be the next step.
Okay.
Because
But
if your next step of a schoolboy football is Jamaica Premier League, how do you expect that Jamaica will compete the next World Cup when other countries, when their players leave them and migrate to either the English Premier League, the German league, the Spanish league, which are much higher quality leagues.
okay.
So we
But
don't have development in sports, so the rest of the world just outpace the natural talents of Jamaicans.
all right. But you've brought in the very thing that I've said initially, that there are times when for an organization to grow, for an organization to thrive, there are times when they're going to need interns to volunteer to give up their time for free because they cannot pay them. If it is that the Jamaica Federation have to in order to nurture our talent, provide a salary for all their interns, for
I
all their
really don't
paid
think
folks,
I really don't
do
think they are
we
going that way.
do you think
This
they
trade
would have
corruption
enough
is the reason
money
why
to
we
pay
don't
them?
invest now. At least it has nothing to do with funding.
It's not funding why we don't invest more in our athletes.
It's trade corruption. Trade
Um,
corruption.
I agree with that. I don't think it's a funding issue. Um, it's definitely not a funding issue. There's corruption, and then there's also priority. Um, the money is put into a lot of um different things that the government tend to start and don't finish, and it then become a waste. So there's that. So I don't think it's a funding issue at all.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. Well,
I
One
think
question
all it
though.
was some people to say, hey, listen, I need to see everybody books. I need to because we're gonna
I
clean up all
mean
this corruption. And guess what happened? They can't get paid because if they're gonna get paid, maybe they're going to say, boy, let's cut into the pie too. So maybe we need some more interns to walk into certain organizations and shake it up because if they're not driven by money, if it is that we're not driven by money, we're going to look to ensure that the organization thrive because we're not going for pay. So you can't bribe the intern. You can't say, yeah, man, eat a food. No. So maybe we actually need more interns to.
I
Remember what you're saying is
So
that
you want to
intern
privatize all of that?
internship
Okay.
very loosely. Because I'm
All right.
arguing
So
what
there
you're
were
saying now,
too
but
many
I feel like
talking.
you're
I couldn't
agreeing.
hear a thing.
Oh no, I was
Go ahead.
saying I agree with what you're saying though. I think you're using volunteerism and internship very loosely. Because a volunteer you need to do that, not necessarily an intern.
I I think the
Yeah.
general consensus is this. There's a strong similarity between, and I said it earlier, strong similarity between volunteerism and internship. However, the optics and the outcome are two different things. But generally, I think all of us agree on the fact that internship should be paid, even if it's a stipend like 20,000 or 30,000. Some internship get up to 80 to 150, and I think generally that's okay. And we don't need to go into how much an intern should get paid because that varies based on the company and the
And
industry.
the field.
Um, yeah, yeah, ends industry. But let's shift the conversation a bit over to and I guess all of us are experienced so like and due to the fact that other people may end up listening to this adding this discussion, but what's the next step for after internship and how they should navigate like the benefits taking advantage and then try to propel to getting a job at that company or somewhere else. If that's a topic or if you guys want to suggest an additional topic on top of the all unpaid versus paid, you guys can go ahead.
Well, the next step. This is really coming back to what drives, what really makes an internship different from just volunteering. The next step in an internship is after that, because it's supposed to, quote unquote, supposed to be structured, then at the end of that, it should be a thing where whoever is responsible for the intern slash interns should be doing whatever needs to be done to evaluate them and see, okay, what's the best fit, what's the best place that they will fit, or are they a good fit in the first place, or where would they be a good fit? So like if it's something that, say, a school partner up with a company, then like usually that you don't really expect that to be a case where they're going to necessarily continue with the same company. So the school would step back in at that point and say, all right, hey, you took on these students, they got some experience from the company. Well, some just go back to classes, but some, yeah, they continue on into the field. If it's if it's a case where they're at the end of their studies already, then likely it will be a thing where that evaluation is going to determine whether they get a junior role or not at that place. That's the way
Mm.
I see it. So there is that continuity there, directly going into the industry, more likely than not.
Okay. It this kind of what you said kind of brings back something that I think was asked earlier in terms of experience as an intern, but it kind of crossed my mind like how much people like as an intern experience like a negative working environment or like promises of this, that, and so forth. And then because of that experience, they shift their career or mindset to something else. Any of you had a like a bad experience as an intern? Like you wanted to get the job or in propel in this career path, but based on the internship you had, it kind of shifted your mindset.
Mm, nope, but I can understand why, because some the work culture for some the work culture for some companies in this country is garbage.
Okay, I do agree to some extent. I do agree. I do agree. In the sense that Jamaica doesn't really have a conducive work culture, but at the same time, uh, I've seen and been to different countries and their work culture. Um, there's not much difference. To me, it's just the pay is better and some benefits and infrastructure is
Yeah,
better.
but it could be an example. If I work at name a company, I can't think of a company. Off the top of my head now, so Mr. Use a random company. So let's say I go work at NCB as a developer intern, just leave school. I see this is my first work experience. I see no when it's 5 o'clock. I see no one leaving. Granted, the IT, so I don't really work 9 to 5, but I see no one leaving. I see everyone working 9, 10, 11 hours. When you finish, well, that's not like homework for myself. It wouldn't make sense for me to continue in that position. And then you have some managers who are toxic managers, but just because it's an intern and a member of staff and feel like they can talk to them in any way, they wouldn't necessarily not talk to a staff member because the intern in some places not necessarily report to the HR because you're new to the field, they're afraid of you. So yeah. So I
Mm.
can the first place that I worked. If I was there as an intern position, and then I wouldn't continue work there. Like I said, I was lit at one point. I was lit in the entire IT department.
I see. Yeah. I get that, and I can see that as a turn off. Because I've I've seen where similar to you. I've never had a bad internship experience. So that's actually a God bless, I guess. But I've seen where people go to a company, like you said, they get like, especially they're new, right? So they don't know how to do certain stuff and so forth, and when they do make mistake, like it's like the world coming down at them at that company and just make them feel like dog shit, and like they can't make a mistake and then learn from it. So that goes back to the old bad culture. I don't know um like how that can get better, or what can be put in place to.
With the managers.
Okay, so I was given my first warning for language, so I'll be a bit more cognizant of the words that I use. So in any case, so it's a matter of, like, what do you think someone should do when come on to those type of work culture as intern? Of course, the easy answer is get up and just find something else. But is there something else that a person can do to learn from that experience, or to overcome a toxic environment as an intern?
So when you look at locally and internationally, one of the number one reasons why people usually leave their jobs is because of having a, let's call it a toxic manager, right? So if you've got a toxic manager, there's highly likely that people are gonna be leaving this team often, and you might be hearing a couple rumors of them. What can you do or learn from this? You can learn how to not be a toxic manager, but ultimately the solution is that it's best for you to leave and find somewhere that gives you peace.
Okay.
So yeah, man. Yeah. Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, great. So there should really be avenues within the organization to protect the employees' interests and the employers' interests as well, because reality is a high turnover is not necessarily good for any organization. Because one, they will be spending time training and then you leave. They'll be spending time doing interviews, then you leave. Or so all of that can cause hiccups within an organization. So the reality is the interns do have some amount of say in terms of what type of work environment they're going to be experiencing. They do have a voice. I would definitely recommend for them to be respectful, etc. And try as best as possible to handle the situation. Without, unless of course it's absolutely necessary to leave. But I would want to encourage persons to exhaust as much other opportunities as possible for leaving that organization, because for one of the reasons unpaid internship came about is because there are times when people really really desperate. They've been at home for so long and they're sending out resumes, and that actually hurts their career development. When it is that let's say I look at someone's resume and I see they finished their degree at X time, and 2 years later they find out there's no job reference. There's nothing happening on their resume. You're gonna be wondering if was this person in prison. Well, and I don't really want this person at my organization. So even if not to say that we want organizations to abuse people, but the reality is there is room for unpaid internship, especially when there's situations when you're having this long length of time when you're at home doing nothing, or you have this idle
Because
time,
you're
just you know.
desperate and you're trying to use them to get some free work. No, Mr. Slave labor? Just
No, not slave labor. It's
No,
called a strategic placement.
you're right. Strategic placement. Thank you. Because remember, it's not happening for you, Kevonia. But the reality, there, some persons are having almost like experience where they've been blacklisted. They've been applying for job for 6 months have passed. They haven't gotten anything. Um, a year has passed and they haven't gotten anything. The managers, the hiring people, the HR, so they actually do look at the things and say, hold on, oh, this person last job was 2018 and we're now in 2024. They do look at these things. So and if your qualification isn't superb, where they're saying, yeah, man, this person um is Michael Jordan's son, so that's why he wasn't working. Chances are they're going to overlook that resume. They're going to look at somebody who they believe is more productive, because they're going to think that maybe you were in prison, or maybe you were just lazy and that's why you've been out of a job for so long. So not to say
no,
that I want everybody to be an unpaid intern, but there is room for it, and
no,
we
I
definitely.
agree with that being out of some companies take a while, but I think what I've noticed with Jamaican companies as well, sometimes they take forever to respond. Because I remember I applied for a job and it think about it took them about 4 or 5 months to get back to me. At that point, I already got a promotion at work, so I'm like, I just get my promotion. I applied to you from January. I got my promotion in October, and now you just reach out to me and say, "Oh, you're still interested in the job?" Like, really?
Alright, alright. I can't fight that one. I agree that I've seen it happen, and not just at other companies but also at the company that I am at as well. And what I can say is that there's seeing it happen, things happen in HR, there tend to be like a flood of resume come in, especially when there's a job post and someone has to go through that. Of course, there are companies like NTV that has a big HR team, assuming way, but at the same time, many people are applying. So it does take some time to just review all those candidates, then uh, then just shortlist them, and then if there's like a board or like a committee for each HR, it takes a good amount of time because one person may say, "Oh, this candidate should be shortlisted," but the other person would say, "Right, no." Let me give you an example. Recently, people we sent out we as in some government thing, we had sent out like uh posts for people volunteer their time to participate in this whole government, private sector, and citizen type of thing, and it took around 3 months for us all to agree on what to be done. And then it took like an additional 4 weeks based on the resume that was sent in. who to choose from, because some people may say this person, that person, then we do like a ranking system, a matrix whatsoever, and then the discussion around that and so forth, because sometimes choosing the right person, or the right person, the best person, which is two different things, because the right person for the job might not necessarily be the best person, and of course the best person might not be the right person, because because someone can be great at what they do, but mentality of like our interpersonal relationship might not be the right person to do it. So because of all of this hectic back and forth with HR, it does take company a while to just get someone. And then on top of that, if that company, for example, if they sent out a job post knowing that, oh, they don't have the position right now, because I've seen it happen at another company, and I spoke to them. They said they weren't ready to hire, but they know that they're going to be ready to hire in next 3 months. So they wanted to build up the resume to look through, to then at the time when they're ready, they can easily just go through, pick, and then hire that person, instead of, if someone end up leaving the company, the job opening is there now, and they have to rush to hire without doing a proper review. So I can't blame companies to take a long time to do that hiring or get back to the individual, but I can say it does create anxiety for the applicants, and at least an email to say we're reviewing your resume, we'll get back to you within X amount of time, and they just do a quick follow up, even if it's just like a dummy email or a cold email.
For that bit, Oshun, and I'm hoping that for many of us who now are in, positions of not so great power, I hope that in the future, as we continue to get promoted, and as we continue to grow and thrive, and because I'm pretty sure some of us are not finished growing it just yet. So when we get to those positions, when we become managers and CEOs, and we're able to hire and so on, we definitely remember that, when we were trying to get into different companies, that, hey, this, there's anxiety being built up when the companies take a while to respond to their resumes, and we don't want persons to be home sitting down and then be forced into slavery, as some persons have viewed it, but where they even just they're begging to even just come in as a free intern at minimum. So yeah, um, definitely we can be the change that we want to see, guys, and I'm pretty sure that some of the next policymakers are present here. Some of the next um, entrepreneurs, some of the next hiring managers are here to discuss. So let us continue to make a difference in the career, as we highlight some of the challenges that are careers facing, and that our various co-workers, various friends, various Jamaicans are facing in this challenging economic experience at times. Um, but with that being said, um, I'm going to hand over now to Jason Williams, just to wrap up everything.
All right, I think we're gonna go to the closing argument. So I'm gonna give you my closing arguments on the true. Truth is, I am for, and I think most of us here are for like, paid internships really, right? Because while you're learning and you're earning a bit more, that's a bit more motivation to you. You can buy a one lunch, or you have your little girlfriend, you buy a little something from the money as well, whatever it is, right? So the money does help motivate you. However, there is a strategy and a way when it comes to the unpaid internship. It can be that could be that the unpaid internship is your entry into some highly sought after industries that don't offer, the pay, or maybe the paid section is so flooded with applications that nobody wants to take the unpaid section, and that's another way. So life's kind of about perspective in a sense. Let's say there's this big company that I want to get into, and I take on this unpaid internship, right? My goal while in that company should be okay. Like if you check the chat right now, you'll see I pushed two things. One was from Jared Best Mitchell, great guy to follow on LinkedIn, by the way. And the second one was from this lady who runs this company. I think it's a legal company where she's searching for persons in an internship role. These are unpaid, I believe, and some might lead to work. The key word here is might. Right? I'm gonna emphasize might because the truth is some persons are stuck in what we call internship hell. Right? You just intern here, you go to see an intern here again, you just keep becoming you're an intern time and time again, and there's just no full-time role. Some persons they lose confidence and they don't apply for a full-time role. Right? So here's the thing, right? Whether you're paid or you're unpaid, if you're in an internship, make sure that let's say this is a big company and you're talking up with your fellow interns, you're talking up with the manager, your co-workers, somebody in a different department, right? Your job may not be in the same department that you're in. It could be in a separate department. So even if they want to say, oh, at the end of this internship, I'm sure you get the work. You replace me, or we'll create a position for you, right? But the truth is, things don't always go that way. Environments change, job markets change, shifts happen. So what you want to do is while you're in that internship, start from, kind of talk up with the other managers in the other departments, let them know, say, hey, I'm kind of interested in if a role opens up here. Send out applications, right, to posts that you see within the company's intranet. Send out applications to posts outside of the company's intranet, right? And just see how well you can, let's say, position yourself, right? Because I'm not sure if anybody mentioned it, but the truth is that some persons want to work with those individuals that they like. If you and I mesh well, I might hire you over, O'Shane will on the call because me O'Shane really agree. So, me talk earlier, I'm like how you sound and things. So, me go hire you over the next guy, right? There are little things here that you can use to give yourself a boost, right? Ultimately, though, I've heard and I've seen, I think, where person said, all right, this job say, I need 2 years experience. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this unpaid internship, then I'll try and get a paid internship, and then I'll send out application to this company. Right? So my example might not have been the best, but the point I'm making here is that it's good to have an end goal in mind. Let's say my goal is to work at digital, right? Digital says they want you to have 3 years experience, you need this certificate, you need all these other things, right? So I am running towards that end goal, and while I'm running towards that end goal, I'm taking little things here and there that will assist me in getting to that end goal, right? That thing that assists me might have been a 1 year unpaid internship at Flow, so I can come and get them some competitor knowledge. Don't do that, by the way, that's illegal. But yeah, so ultimately, it's good to have an end goal. Use internships to your advantage, and you can definitely make the best of it.
For that, Jason. So we are coming up to an end of this very interesting discussion, very interesting debate. And one of the things that we would want to, of course, just bring to your attention is that our next event that we'll be having is actually our demo day, and this is going to be on Zoom. signed up already, please feel free to reserve your spot. It's not limited seats, of course, but you want to make sure that you're properly notified, etc. And this is going to be on Zoom. It's going to be our demo day around using some of the cool features for AI. Outside of that, we do have a event that we having with Jamaica Artificial Intelligence Association. This is going to be a joint event, and that event is actually going to be November 16th. So we have put the both posters in the events and meetup section for you guys to check it out. But of course, I'm just giving you guys a reminder. And of course, look out for our physical event. So we physical events in the past, but of course, we took a break because of COVID and whatever other things. But of course, we want to restart having some physical events that we get a chance to, meet and share knowledge, play games, etc. We do have various activities that we have planned for a physical event, and that physical event is going to be the 19th of November. So that poster is going to be released soon. So look out for that. Any quick comments? Any quick questions that we want to just drop? Feel free to drop it now as we wind down to have a great evening. Hopefully, staying safe inside, out of the rain, because we in tip top shape, whether it is that you're being paid to be an intern or not, or you full time, you still have to get to the work Monday morning. All right, so yes, let's get those final comments in. So any comments from you, Andrew?
I have a final, actually not a comment per se, but aside from the events Alden mentioned, there's also the UACB 5K that's coming up, right? It's going to be Sunday, November 24. I know some members of the community are going to be there, and it's for a good cause. It's to fund students who are in dire financial constraints. It goes towards the UA 5K scholarship fund.
Thank you very much for that as well, Jason.
But Jason, you can drop that in the community chat just to remind people. And just to announce this, this is the unofficial announcement. So we have community t-shirts that we are going to do some giveaway on as well as for sale, so you guys can look out for community t-shirt in the upcoming week, well, days or weeks.
All
Okay,
right,
definitely
so
looking forward for those swag.
in order to wrap up the meeting, we always open the floor. I'd like to hear the closing arguments for everybody. How about you, Kevoni? You can go ahead.
Say no to slave labor, pay the interns.
Pay the interns. I agree with that.
There's nothing more to be said there. Yeah, everybody gonna say pay the intern. Well, unless you're the boss, and then they're gonna be like, "But I'm in dire straits right now." But yeah, the interns need to be compensated in some way, shape, or form.
Agreed. After all, party is not cheap nowadays.
Compensation could be, that line on your resume that says, "Hey, I work for X company."
No, that not enough. That can't buy patty.
All right,
Crawford,
I'm gonna.
anything from you? Okay, I guess Crawford is We're not able to find the unmute button at this time. Go ahead, Jason.
Yes, I'm gonna say if no one else has, any closing arguments, then we can end it here. It was definitely an interesting debate, a lot of different sides. Gosh, I actually, the underdog team was unpaid and unpaid gave a very good argument in my view. So thank you for attending and see you at the next debate, which should be early next year, I believe. And have a good night.
2 month break.
Take care, everyone. Bye.